fourth goal went in, the visiting supporters chanted, "You're not fit to wear the shirts." Would you agree with that assessment?
I think to start with, it's important that we apologise to our supporters who came all the way from Manchester here to Brighton. Yeah, we were just not good enough from start to finish. The performance was not only poor, it was extremely poor. We knew that even from our first game that we played at home in the first half, that Brighton is a very flexible technical team, always trying to play through your lines and to be creative. So we knew that it was not enough to just enjoy yourself in possession of the ball. The problem was we were not that often in possession of the ball. In order to be in possession, we should have won the ball, but we gave them far too much space and time. And at halftime, if we're honest, the only good thing was the result for us. It was only 1-0. So at halftime, for me, the question was, what are we going to do? Bring on 2 new players, that was clear, but do we change the formation into a 3-5-2, or do we take the risk to play in a 4-4-2, which we did in the end? In hindsight, maybe that was a little bit too much of a risk. I take responsibility for that if that was the case, but I think in general it was just the problem that we had in earlier games at Everton, for example, at Liverpool, although I must say this is still a different level again. We just were not good enough in defending as a team, and taking the ball away from the other team. This was just our biggest problem today, and that's why we also didn't create that many chances. The only time in the game when we had chances ourselves was in the last 20 minutes when we were playing in a 3-5-2.
Now, supporters seem to suggest that the majority of the players don't care, and the results would suggest that is the case as well. Are you at that conclusion now that it's just an uncaring bunch?
No, I have to defend the players here. I don't think that they are. I mean, I saw them in training. I saw them against Brentford. Again, after beating Brentford at home, also a team who are not that bad in possession of the ball and who had quite a few good results. For me, it was clear not to change anything, not to change that winning team. And we had a good week of training with good atmosphere, with focus on the training sessions. But as I said, I mean, I remember me watching the game against Watford away 4-1, who are now relegated, and this looked very similar to what happened today. For me, the problem is how to defend as a team. And in this league, if you play against good teams, and Brighton is a good team, if you do not defend properly, if you just let them play, if you give them all the space and time in the world, this is the result.
Prior to the third goal, before the goal kick is delivered, you were gesturing on the sideline, up, as in you wanted your team to move. Do you think there's a disconnect between the orders you're giving and what the players are doing?
No, but at that time it was already, I mean, with the early second goal, I was fully aware that it now gets even more difficult. The question was who would then score the next goal. Is it a 1-1 or is it a 2-0? I mean, with 2 sixes and with Juan Mata and Bruno as the 2 10s on the wing and 2 strikers, it was clear that we have 4 offensive players and even more spaces. In the first half, our biggest problem was their wing backs. Their offensive wing backs, and how to stop them, how to stop the diagonal balls with our back 4.
How sort of depressing is it for yourself? You've got one game to go, and to have a performance like this at the end, and you've got the fans, at the end of your spell, and you've got the fans mocking even your position during the game. How does that feel from your own point of view?
I mean, you can answer that question yourself. It was a humiliating defeat today, and even more so for a team like Manchester United. I think that was the second highest defeat in my whole career as a coach in the last 35 years. But it's not only that you lose 4-0, it was also the way that we played, and this is just unacceptable, very difficult to deal with and to cope.
Ralf, you've spoken about recruitment before. You said about strikers yesterday, but you think that maybe considering the number of goals that you have, defense is probably somewhere that you need to look at more closely?
Yeah, but please accept that I don't want to speak about that right now. After a performance like today, it doesn't make sense to speak about recruitment now. We should still be good enough with the team that we had available today in the first and in the second half to play better than we did today. And again, full responsibility on my side for the performance. But again, it's difficult. It's really difficult to understand why we play like we played against Brentford on Monday, and like we played today.
Sorry, there's got a question over here.
Ralf, going forward, you've claimed that United needs 6, 7, maybe even 10 new players. But when the team needed strikers so much badly in January transfer window, the board refused. So going forward, how much do you trust the board to get you right players at the right time?
I fully trust the board, and the board was also agreeing with me when we spoke in the last couple of weeks and months about what happened since the closure of the transfer window. So that was not meant at all as criticism towards anyone. At the time, we only would have had 48 hours anyway, so nobody knows if that would have been possible. But again, there were a few things that happened that were not foreseeable and predictable, and therefore, but right now, again, after a performance like that, I'm not the kind of person who is looking for excuses or for alibis. This was just not good enough, and I can only once again say apology to our supporters and to everybody who is taking care of this club.
Okay, last question.
Ralf, I think this is now going to be the worst performance by United in the Premier League, in the history of the Premier League, points-wise. That's not an unfair reflection of how the season has gone, is it? It's been a disaster, really, hasn't it?
Yes, but again, the only thing but this has to be done at the end of the season, and I'm still very positive that with Ten Hag, we have a top manager next season, and I'm also pretty sure that, and the board has already made some changes, and there will be more changes to come in the summer. I'm still positive that we can change the whole issue and show a completely different face next season. And this is important, not only for our fans, but also for the image of the whole club. And as I said, if there is only one good thing, I said that earlier on a couple of weeks ago, but it wouldn't need a performance like today. As I said, that today that felt terrible for everybody. But if there is one good thing, that we realize that there is a lot of space for improvement, and that we need some changes.
Okay, guys, thank you.